The Call of Duty Black Ops Iceberg, a deep dive into various topics related to the first Black Ops game. These entries range from common to not so common to obscure to completely insane. I'm currently on a mission to cover all of the Golden Age Call of Duty titles. So far, we've talked about COD 4, World at War, and Modern Warfare 2, so check those videos out when you have some free time. But today, we're finally ready to talk about the first Black Ops title. Alright, enough talking. Shut your mouth, Ryan. If you're ready to dive into this massive video, drop a like. Maybe we could shoot for 115 likes. And with all that said, let's get wrecked.
Victory cannot be achieved without sacrifice, Mason.
Nuketown. You know it, you love it. If it's not Shipment, this is the Call of Duty map. It's a small close quarters map introduced in Black Ops, set in a nuclear testing ground, modeled after a 1950s US suburban neighborhood, complete with colorful houses and mannequins. Now, as I just mentioned, if it's not Shipment, Nuketown is the Call of Duty map. Everyone knows it, and most people love it, especially Treyarch. In fact, they love it so much that they've remastered and remade it, and every single one of their titles post Black Ops, sometimes multiple times, which is great but also kind of annoying. The map is so iconic that people who aren't fans of Call of Duty necessarily recognize it. And one of the best parts of Nuketown is how it's packed with tons of Easter eggs. For example, if players shoot the heads of all the mannequins within 15 seconds on the map, the Rolling Stones song, Sympathy for the Devil plays. Other fun details include mailboxes labeled Woods and Mason, books written by Richtofen, a replica of the Brady Bunch house, and even a double rainbow, which is a direct reference to the old viral YouTube video of a man moved to tears by a beautiful double rainbow.
It's so bright.
That video always breaks my heart. The Terminal. The Terminal is a computer located inside the interrogation room where Alex Mason is held in the main menu of Black Ops. By pressing the spacebar on PC or R2 and L2 on PS3 and LT and RT on the 360, players can stand up, walk around, explore the room, and access the terminal. This terminal is packed with tons of secrets, cheats, and hidden details that can be uncovered using various commands. Players can view user accounts, read messages, emails, and uncover other fascinating information, which we'll dive into further throughout the video. Now, I'm just going to tell you guys right now, this terminal, it gets deep. Loads of commands and files, images, sounds, etc. Like even messages sent to Mason from his very disappointed father. And honestly, we could make like a 4-hour-long video just talking about what lies in this terminal. So to save time, I'm only going to cover what I feel is most important throughout the video, which is hard to do because there are a lot of important details in this terminal. Maybe one day I'll just make like a 4-hour-long deep dive in a terminal. People have probably done that before, but I really want to like make a video just covering everything. But we'll see what happens. Anyways, the terminal's deep. The numbers. The numbers, Mason. What do they mean? This is a question repeatedly directed at Alex Mason by Jason Hudson and Gregory Weaver during the interrogation. A question that has since become a pretty big meme in the Call of Duty community. To put it simply, the numbers are activation codes. Mason had been brainwashed by the Russians, but Viktor Reznov, yeah, the guy from World at War, sabotaged the programming, redirecting Mason's mission toward Dragovich, Steiner, and Kravchenko as revenge for what they had done to him, Dmitry, and his men at the end of World War II. The number sequence heard and seen throughout Black Ops, including those in the terminal, can be decoded using a book written by John F. Kennedy titled Profiles in Courage. When deciphered, these sequences are revealed to be commands issued by Dragovich to his sleeper agents. The number sequences begin with a word followed by a string of numbers, the first of which corresponds to a page in the book. The words vary from echelon to ascension. Echelon means that the code is trying to give vital information to the agent, while ascension acts as a command. For example, echelon 3, 24, 20, this code on screen. The first number, 3, refers to page 3 of the book, which reads, Walter Lippmann, after nearly half a century of careful observations, rendered in his recent book a harsh judgment, both on the politician. Well, the letters in that text are then converted into numbers, with A being 0, B being 1, C equals 2, and so on, all the way to Z 25. So Walter Lippmann after yada yada, the W would be 22, the A would be 0, the L would be 11, the T would be 19, and so on. Then each letter's corresponding number is subtracted from the cipher numbers, for example, the W being being 22, that 22 would be subtracted from the first number in the sequence that I showed on screen before, but not the page number. So instead of 3, it would be 24. You basically repeat this process for each number in the sequence until you end up with a new series of numbers. So in Walter Lippmann after yada yada, that sequence would now be 2, 20, 1, 0, 13, etc. You then convert these numbers back into letters. So 2 becomes C, 20 becomes U, 1 becomes B, and so on until you reveal the hidden message. And in this case, for the echelon code, the message reads, Cuban allies authorized construction of permanent broadcast station Rusalka, Gulf of Mexico, Project Nova initiated, await instructions. This is how the number sequences in the game can be solved, in case you wanted to go back in and solve them, even though they've all been solved, I think. Now I know my explanation might not be the clearest, so if you need someone else to explain it to you, no worries, I got you. Check out this video on screen, as well as the Call of Duty fandom wiki page on the Ascension numbers code. Also, it's worth noting that profiles and courage can be seen on the table next to the radio equipment operated by the unknown woman in the one live cutscene of the game. Zombies. So, disclaimer, this video is not a Zombies Iceberg. This is a Black Ops Iceberg. So, while we'll touch upon some obscure Zombies content throughout the video, we're not going to be diving into the super intricate details of the zombie storyline or anything overly complex like that. If you're someone specifically looking for a Zombies-only Iceberg, I'll throw a few suggestions up on screen that I would highly recommend you give a watch. But, who knows, you know, maybe one day I'll make my own. Tell you what, if we reach 100,000 subscribers, I'll make my own. Because that video would be like 4 hours long, it'd be ridiculous. Due to the success of the bonus mode in World at War, zombies returned in Black Ops, with maps like Kino der Toten, 5, and the new top-down arcade mode, Dead Ops Arcade. Treyarch really leveled up the experience by not only bringing back perks and iconic weapons like the ray gun, but also introducing brand new zombie types and wonder weapons like the Thunder Gun and the Winter's Howl, which sucks ass. They also expanded the zombies experience with new perks like PhD Flopper, Stamina, Mule Kick, and Deadshot, which were added during the DLC season. Main Easter egg quests were also introduced in DLC season, which rewarded players with achievements or trophies, sometimes all perks, all while pushing forward the Aether storyline. Now, I want to get nostalgic for a second. Black Ops was my first introduction into zombies, and I have a lot of fond memories of staying up late in middle school and playing Doris Remastered and Ascension with my friends, and just getting super pumped up by making it to like round 25 or 30. Like, those were good times. By the way, I'm looking forward to BO6 Zombies. I cannot wait for Terminus Island. Liberty Balls is going to be interesting. I love how we're all calling it Liberty Balls now because it doesn't necessarily look like a zombies map. It looks more like a Warzone map, but I'm not one of those like zombies purists or anything. It might be good, it might be bad, but I won't know unless I try. And I'm not going to base my opinions necessarily on the gameplay that we saw at COD Next. It might be the best map ever, but we'll see what happens. Unlocking 5 and Dead Ops Arcade. Speaking of zombies, when Black Ops first launched, 5 and Dead Ops Arcade were not immediately accessible. Much like how Nacht der Untoten was unlocked in World at War, players had to either complete the campaign or use the terminal to unlock them. If players wanted to unlock the maps early without completing the campaign, they would head to the terminal, and for 5, would use the command 3arc unlock. And for Dead Ops Arcade, simply typing DOA did the trick. But it doesn't matter because eventually Treyarch made both of those maps available to play without the need for the terminal commands or even finishing the campaign. Map packs. Black Ops marked a significant milestone as the first Call of Duty game, I think, to release 4 map packs within a single year. First Strike, Escalation, Annihilation, and Resurrection. During this Call of Duty era, Xbox players had exclusive early access to these map packs, typically 30 days before other platforms like PlayStation and PC. First Strike launched on February 1st, 2011 for Xbox, with PS3 and PC following a month later, and introduced the multiplayer maps Berlin Wall, Discovery, Kowloon, Stadium, and the Zombies map Ascension. Escalation dropped on May 3rd for Xbox and featured Zoo, Convoy, Hotel, Stockpile, and the first celebrity-filled Zombies experience, Call of the Dead. Annihilation released on June 28th and brought maps like Hangar 18, Silo, Hazard, which is a remaster of Cliffside from World at War, Drive-In, and the Zombies map Shangri-La. And finally, Resurrection hit on August 23rd, delivering the Zombies map Moon and the remastered versions of the original World at War maps, Nacht der Untoten, Verrückt, Kino Numa, and Doris, now featuring Black Ops weapons in addition to some of the World at War arsenal. World at War is a prequel. If it wasn't obvious enough by the inclusion of Viktor Reznov and the whole flashback mission featuring Dmitry Petrenko, which basically introduces us to the horrors of Nova 6, World at War is a prequel to the Black Ops franchise. Teddy bears. It wouldn't be a Call of Duty title without some teddy bear features, right? While teddy bears are typically littered throughout the Zombies mode and Treyarch titles, there's one notable instance outside of Zombies on the multiplayer map Firing Range, where you can find a teddy bear in this building on screen, you know, this building where everyone and their mother used to just camp, and it's pretty cool. There's probably other teddy bears littered throughout the multiplayer, but this is just an example. Zork. One of the coolest features of the terminal is the ability to play a text-based adventure game titled Zork, which was a real game first released in 1977. In the game, players can explore the remains of the Great Underground Empire, solve puzzles, interact with various items, and much more. And that was Layer 1. Woohoo! Yippee! Wow! Alright.
Sounds like someone breaking in!
Just a storm, Dick. Sit down.
Syndicate's controversial 115 run. YouTuber Syndicate recorded himself playing on round 115 on Kino der Toten way back in 2011, and at the time, it was a pretty monumental moment in Black Ops Zombies. For starters, he technically made it to round 116, but obviously 115 sounds a lot better, since it's a direct nod to Element 115. Second, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this moment was huge because it basically popularized the training strategy in Zombies, which went by a totally different name way back in the day that we're not going to refer to. It was a different time on the internet, different climate. At the time, Syndicate was known for two things: his Minecraft series and being one of the biggest Zombies creators on the platform. However, over the years, many have speculated as to whether the run was legit or not. And just recently, YouTuber Carl Yops made a whole video that dives into the details of how Syndicate might have faked that entire 115 world record. Syndicate to this day continues to deny any cheating allegations. Now, unfortunately, I was one of the many who genuinely believed that Syndicate's run was real. In fact, he, along with Yodi Slayer back in the day, which was another old school Zombies YouTuber who sadly passed away, really got me into Zombies when I was a kid and inspired me to get better at the game. So after seeing a lot of the evidence against Syndicate, I mean, I'm not going to say that he cheated, but the evidence is there, and I'm honestly pretty conflicted about the entire situation. But I did want to bring up this 115 run because at the time, it was huge. Special editions. Yep, we're back at it again, baby. Whenever there's a new Call of Duty release, Activision loves to put out some special editions of the latest title, packed with a few extras to entice players to fork over more cash than a broken ATM. And with Black Ops 1, it's no different. The hardened edition of Black Ops included the full game, a steelbook case, a collector's medal with a display case, and the 4 remastered World at War Zombies maps. The Prestige edition of the game came with everything I just mentioned, plus a real working RCXD modeled after the in-game killstreak, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. I'm tempted to go on eBay and buy one, but I know it's like a total waste of money. Ice Cube. Joseph Bowman, the man, the myth, the legend, was brought to life by none other than Ice Cube. Black Ops Zombies Mobile. Black Ops Zombies Mobile was an iOS and Android title where players could experience round-based zombies like Kino and Ascension on their mobile devices. The game was released on December 1st, 2011 for iOS and in August of the following year for Android users. It was developed by IdeaWorks Game Studio, the same studio that ported the World at War maps to mobile as well, before being taken over by Marmalade Game Studio. Some key differences between the mobile and console versions of Zombies were that there wasn't a perk limit, certain weapons didn't have upgraded ammo when Pack-a-Punch, and it was totally possible to get 2 of the same weapon from the mystery box. Unfortunately, this game is no longer available on mobile devices, which is kind of sad, but I mean, what are you gonna do? COD points. Many of you are probably familiar with the whole idea of COD points today, thanks to modern Call of Duty games selling overpriced bundles in their item shop, which can be purchased using the in-game currency. But back in 2010, COD points were actually pretty cool. In Black Ops multiplayer, players still had to level up to unlock weapons, attachments, equipment, etc. However, they could only use those items by purchasing them with COD points, which were earned by playing the game and gaining XP. The system allowed players to tailor their gameplay experience. I mean, for example, all perks were unlocked at level 4, but instead of getting everything automatically, players had to choose which perks to purchase, letting them save their COD points for other items in the Create a Class system. You could also customize your character model and stuff. I mean, for the most part, Black Ops' multiplayer had a lot of freedom, and COD points was a pretty unique gimmick. I wasn't the biggest fan of the system, but I'll tell you, these COD points were much better than, this. Wager matches. Wager matches was this game mode which allowed players to bet their COD points against everyone in the lobby. It was basically in-game gambling before Activision introduced real gambling into the franchise, which ended up really damaging the reputation of Call of Duty, but that's a rant for another day. In wager matches, the top 3 players walked away with rewards while the rest left with nothing. Thunder Gun in campaign. Just like the ray gun Easter egg in World at War's campaign, there is a way to grab the Thunder Gun wonder weapon in the Black Ops campaign. At the start of the mission numbers, throw some grenades at the white canisters down the hallway to blow them up. Then turn around and head to the corner of the room and interact with the desk to grab the tape. Then you would just carry on like normal. However, when you make it to the slow motion cinematic jump into the building and the armory opens up, there's a tape player inside the armory. Insert the tape into the player, wait a few seconds, and the Thunder Gun will emerge from the wall, which you can then use to kill everyone. The first letter of each DLC spells fear. I probably worded this entry weird, but if you take the first letter of each of the Black Ops map pack names, First Strike, Escalation, Annihilation, and Resurrection, F-E-A-R, they spell out the word fear. Black Ops Declassified. Black Ops Declassified is a PlayStation Vita exclusive that was released on November 13th, 2012, the same day as Black Ops 2. Developed by Instigate Games, the story takes place between Black Ops and Black Ops 2, although there's an ongoing debate about whether this title is still fully canon within the Black Ops universe. The campaign follows CIA analyst Ryan Jackson in the year 1990 as he compiles a report on various operations carried out by Woods, Mason, and Hudson throughout the 70s. In addition to the campaign, the game features multiplayer, and instead of zombies, it offers a mode called Hostiles, which is pretty similar to Modern Warfare 3 2011's survival mode. The game received numerous negative reviews upon release due to glitches, poor enemy AI, and other technical issues. Now, Ryan Jackson isn't a one-off character created solely for Declassified. In fact, he played a pretty interesting role in Black Ops, but we'll get to him later in the video. Intel. Throughout the Black Ops campaign, players can collect intel documents that provide additional background details to the story. These documents reveal information on Nova 6, the development of super weapons during World War II, and even include letters written by various characters, among other key insights. Origins Easter egg references Vorkuta escape plan. Secure the keys, ascend from darkness, rain fire, unleash the horde, skewer the winged beast, wield a fist of iron, raise hell and freedom. These are not only the steps that Reznov, Mason, and the prisoners follow to escape Vorkuta, but they also serve as the Easter egg steps for the zombies map Origins in Black Ops 2, narrated by Samantha. And that was layer 2, baby. Woohoo! Yippee! Let's go. I'm pumped. Alright.
Hey! Who are you people? What do you want from me?
We want the numbers, Mason. That's all we've ever wanted.
Nintendo DS version. Not surprisingly, Black Ops also launched on the Nintendo DS. The DS version, developed by N-Space, features a campaign, multiplayer, and zombies. The campaign puts players in the shoes of various CIA and SOG operatives, with settings ranging from Cuba to Vietnam to Afghanistan to the USSR to the Arctic. But what's really interesting about the DS version is that it includes 4 zombies maps that are not found in the console versions: House, Facility, Temple, and Overlook. So I'm genuinely curious if any fans have recreated these maps using mod tools for either World at War or Black Ops 3. Preferably Black Ops 3, because that's what I have installed on my PC right now. If you guys know, let me know in the comments, because I would love to play these maps. Woods and Kravchenko survived. For about a year and a half after completing the Black Ops 1 campaign, most players who didn't delve into the intel or explore the terminal probably assumed that both Woods and Kravchenko died in the grenade explosion during the mission Payback. Some fans might have speculated that Woods survived, even coming up with theories like how Reznov, in this particular moment on screen, was actually Woods. But it wasn't until the release of the Black Ops 2 trailer that it was officially confirmed he had survived. Or was it? Hold that thought, okay? Later, it was also revealed in the Black Ops 2 campaign that Kravchenko also lived, although his entire situation is, well, let's just say complicated. Man, the man has been on quite an adventure. Anyways, going back to the confirmation of Woods being alive, if you visit the terminal at the main menu and type in CATNOTEX2.txt, a message appears stating, July 4th, 1978, Mr. Mason, Woods is alive and remains the sole remaining American guest at the Hanoi Hilton, which is a prison in Vietnam. Thought you should know. But to the average player who probably only experiences the campaign once and then goes balls deep into multiplayer, it's no surprise they might have thought Woods didn't survive until Black Ops 2, when he's shown in the trailer, when he's in the game, and when he kind of elaborates further on what happened after the grenade explosion. God, this man cannot die. Black Ops mobile phone version. So something I didn't quite learn about until recently is that there was a mobile version of Black Ops that isn't related to the mobile zombies game we talked about. Call of Duty Black Ops Mobile is a spin-off developed by Glue Mobile. Released in December of 2010, the game is set in Vietnam and follows a group of soldiers and a CIA agent as they work to disrupt enemy supplies and slow down the North Vietnamese Army, or NVA. The Maverick Code. If you played the campaign, then you're probably familiar with the wacky text that appears in the bottom left corner of the screen at the beginning of each new mission. But maybe what you didn't realize is that the transmission numbers and designated words for each mission, when decrypted, contain a secret message. When you take the first letter of each designated word from every mission and combine them, you end up with XRZNOVDXISDXEAD. Remove the X's and you get Reznov is dead. But that's not all. When converting the transmission numbers from each mission, for example, mission 1 has 15, 18, mission 2 has 9 and 19, and so on, into letters, A equaling 1, B equaling 2, all the way down the alphabet, you get another message. Together, that full secret message reads, Reznov is dead. Or is he? There was no body. Is he who he says he is? Credit and shout out to Maverick 10, formerly 01 Maverick 10, who was reportedly the first to solve this code back when the game first released. He allegedly made it into the 2012 Guinness Book of World Records Gamers Edition for this achievement, and that's why the secret code is dubbed the Maverick Code. Now, I can't personally verify if he's in the book because I don't own the 2012 Gamers Edition, so if any of you can confirm that, let me know in the comments. I'm sure he is in the book, but I just wanted to double check. Kino was supposed to be in World at War. World at War was initially planned to have a 4th DLC, but with the release of Modern Warfare 2 on the horizon and with Black Ops in full development, Treyarch and Activision decided to cancel it. This DLC would have featured 3 new zombies maps, Theater, Paris, and Coast. Paris and Coast were saved for the future, while Theater, now Kino der Toten, ended up being included in Black Ops 1's launch instead. Moon was originally Paris. As previously mentioned, the zombies maps Paris and Coast from the cancelled World at War 4th DLC were saved for future use. Paris in particular evolved into the map Moon. This connection is evident from the Moon file being named ZM_Paris, and also former developers including Jason Blundell have confirmed that a map set in Paris was in the works. Here's a snippet from an interview conducted by Johnny J25 from a couple years ago. Check out the full interview when you get the chance, it's quite fascinating, but here's the snippet.
And it had the Eiffel Tower, and then underneath that was a teleporter, and then there was the catacombs of Paris underneath that. The idea was that you went into the kind of teleporter, and the Eiffel Tower was essentially a conduit for the power for it, and then you got transported to this middle of nowhere where the Pack-a-Punch was, and it was just zombies all coming at you, and there was no cover, and it was brutal.
So would, say the zombies all coming at you, would that maybe be reworked into like the no man's land we had in Moon?
Yeah, so that was that idea that kind of moved over.
Call of the Dead was originally Coast. In regards to the final map Coast from the cancelled DLC 4, this eventually became Call of the Dead, and this was also confirmed by Jason Blundell in Johnny J25's video. Here is a snippet of Jason talking about that as well, and again, please check out the full interview when you get the chance.
And that's where you'll hear about like Paris and Coast and a cinema, and that got re-adopted into Kino, and then the Coast map got turned into Call of the Dead.
Backwards compatibility excitement. Roughly 8 years ago, when Black Ops 1 became backwards compatible with the Xbox One, the servers were packed. Although I never owned an Xbox, I remember seeing my favorite YouTubers at the time making videos about the resurgence of Black Ops 1's multiplayer, and it was insane. When YouTuber Nero's Cinema loaded up BO1 after the game became backwards compatible, the number of players online reached over 48,000, and I'm sure it was even higher for some others. Avenged Sevenfold and Eminem Easter egg songs. Everyone here should be familiar with the secret Easter egg songs in Zombies, usually activated by finding 3 teddy bears or meteors hidden around a map. Most of the songs featured in World at War and Black Ops 1 were produced by Kevin Sherwood, a sound designer and composer for Treyarch, along with vocalist Elena Segman. However, Call of the Dead and 5 featured completely different artists. In 5, the song Won't Back Down by Eminem featuring Pink plays when players interact with 3 red phones scattered around the Pentagon. Meanwhile, in Call of the Dead, the star-studded cast slays the undead while Not Ready to Die by Avenged Sevenfold plays, which is triggered by interacting with 3 meteors around the map. Now, unlike the Eminem track featured, A7X crafted Not Ready to Die specifically for the map Call of the Dead. This would mark the first of many collaborations between the band and Treyarch. GK Nova 6. GK Nova 6 was a promotional site for Black Ops that featured an old television with various lights representing different channels. As the site was updated, more TVs were added. The site included references to the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Cold War, other historical elements, and eventually teased the return of zombies. This site, along with a USB device containing codes and audio files sent to select media outlets, led many down a deep rabbit hole. People eventually learned to crack the codes and decipher letters, leading to the world premiere of the game. The GK Nova 6 promotional campaign's rabbit hole is I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty intricate, like way too complicated to explain in just this video alone, so for more detailed information, check out the Call of Duty fandom wiki page for GK Nova 6. But just a quick heads up, we are going to circle back to GK later in this video, because GK is more than just a promotional site. Frank Woods' 115 tattoo. Frank Woods has a 115 tattoo on his arm above his werewolf tattoo. Returning to Vorkuta in Black Ops 6. So if you guys have seen the trailer for Black Ops 6, you probably already know that we're headed back to Vorkuta, baby. And if seeing Vorkuta on screen isn't enough proof for you, there's even a multiplayer map in the game titled Vorkuta. But why are we going back to Vorkuta? Well, I don't know. Obviously, we'll find out once we play the campaign, but I guess as of now, we could speculate. Why are we going back to Vorkuta? Or I guess, why are we, Case, Marshall, the new crew in the Black Ops 6 campaign now visiting Vorkuta for the first time? Because Mason isn't playable in this game. If he was, then we would technically be returning to Vorkuta, but you guys know what I mean. Let me know in the comments below, why are we going back to Vorkuta? And that was layer 3. Woohoo. Yippee. Huzzah. Alright, my legs hurt. Ugh.
Dragovich, Krashenko, Stein. All must die.
Raul Menendez's father. Jose Luis Menendez, the father of Raul and Josefina, is a character who ran the Menendez cartel until he was assassinated by the CIA and Black Ops Declassified. What's kind of funny is that after Jose is killed, we see Raul making an escape, but the player can't shoot him because he's not a target. Biggest mistake ever, by the way. What's even more interesting is that in the Black Ops Cold War multiplayer map Cartel, Jose's body is seen lying on a bed inside the house with a note from Stitt. The note requests the use of his cartel's distribution line in exchange for saving an ally in Miami. This particular line eventually granted Stitch access to the shopping mall in New Jersey where he smuggled in Nova 6, and then Adler and everybody had to step in and deal with that. I mean, you guys know. Earth is visible from Area 51. After completing the Easter egg on the map Moon and returning to Area 51, players can see Earth in the sky, but how is that possible? Well, Moon and Area 51 share the same skybox. I think this was later corrected in the remastered version of Moon, featured in Zombies Chronicles, but I could be wrong, maybe it's still there. Update, the bug still exists, and it's really funny. Sergeant Roebuck Tribute. Inside the Pentagon lies a portrait of World War II hero Sergeant Roebuck, who is a character seen throughout the Pacific portion of the World at War campaign. Raphael Angelini. Raphael was a young fan of Call of Duty who was battling leukemia. When he and his family went to visit Treyarch, the developers took it upon themselves to honor Raphael's bravery by putting him in the multiplayer map Convoy on a Most Wanted poster which reads, Raphael Angelini is considered armed and dangerous. He is also super brave and an epic Call of Duty player. Be aware that he is much loved by the developers at Treyarch and Activision Blizzard. He is wanted for poning noobs. What an amazing tribute. Cut, weapons, and kill streaks. Okay, so for the next few entries, we'll be diving into cut content from the game, including weapons, maps, zombies content, and more. But before we get started, I want to make it very clear that some of the assets mentioned here could be leftover code from previous titles. And additionally, this isn't an exhaustive list of the cut content found in the game files. Like, if you were to dig deeper into the code of these older games, you would find a hell of a lot more. However, I'm not the type of person who does that. So instead, I'm going to list off what's mostly known and documented across several sources. So if you're someone who's interested in just seeing way more cut content, there are various YouTube videos that explore this further. And also, if I miss any pieces of cut content in particular, which I will, it will either be mentioned later in the video or it won't be mentioned at all. But without further ado, let's talk about some of the weapons. For starters, the P38 pistol icon remains in the game's files and is seen being held by Steiner in Project Nova. The Model 1887 is usable with the Give All command in Vorkuta, although it's incomplete and that doesn't look right. It also uses the Spaz 12 icon. There's also a scoped variant of the M14 and a crossbow with an ACOG sight, which we never see. Molotov cocktails from World at War are usable in the level of Vorkuta via the give all command, and some, if not all, of the SMGs were planned to have a dual wield option. Oh, and of course we can't forget about the iconic default weapon that's in like every Call of Duty. I want to give a huge shout out to Hacking is Freedom, as I borrowed some screenshots from one of their latest videos covering cut content from Black Ops. I highly recommend checking it out when you get the chance, as they dive into some content that I do not cover in this video. They also explore cut content from other games, so definitely show them some love. Now, in terms of kill streaks, there were 2 unique kill streaks found. One called an ammo station, which I'm assuming acted like a care package but for ammo, and another one involving the MP40, with audio files still in the game for Black Ops factions like Tropaz, Op40, Spetsnaz, and NVA. Cut multiplayer maps. There were quite a few maps that never made it into the final build of the game. These include War Museum, which was reportedly a recreation of Castle from World at War. According to GameWatch, this map was scrapped because Treyarch didn't want to reuse content from previous games. Oh, the mighty have fallen. Other scrapped maps include Landing, Port, an alternate jungle map set during a storm, as well as 2 other maps without layouts or images titled Uranium and Snowmine. Additional maps include Rooftops, Underwater, which seems to have been taken from the mission Redemption, Sandstorm, Airbase, Sea Lab, an alternate version of Havana with a layout similar to Favela for Modern Warfare 2, Munich, which was an early version of Stadium, and Shipyard. It's worth noting that there were also early versions of Berlin Wall, Discovery, and Hotel, which were planned for the base game, but were saved for the DLC season. Cut Zombies, Perks, and Weapons. Oh, Lord have mercy, there is a lot of Cut Zombies content. So the AK-47, including a version with a master key and a model with a grenade launcher, as well as the Scorpion, Stoner 63, and WA-2000, were all apparently intended to be in Zombies, as Pack-a-Punch versions of these weapons still remain in the game files. There was also an M16 with a grenade launcher, alongside an alternative Pack-a-Punch version featuring dual mags. 2 AUG models were found with both the master key and grenade launcher attachments. Additionally, there's mention of a G11 with a no scope, the Enfield, the Grim Reaper launcher, an M2 flamethrower, which was used in Dead Ops Arcade, but was rumored to be included in 5 and Kino, as audio quotes for that weapon still remain in the files. Now, interestingly, the Thunder Gun was apparently going to be in 5 before being replaced by the Winter's Howl. Similarly, the Wunderwaffe was also planned to appear in Kino der Toten and 5 before being scrapped. Of course, there are plenty more weapons and mentions, but those are just a few noteworthy examples. While we're on the topic of weapons, kill streaks were also supposedly going to make an appearance in Zombies, potentially as wall buys or rewards for winning a round in the Cut Zombies mode Versus, which kind of sounds like an early version of Grief from Black Ops 2. Apparently, these kill streaks were the RCXD, a radar, attack dogs, attack helicopter, napalm, and an airstrike. It's funny how this was an idea that Treyarch had way back in the day, but didn't decide to go through with it. But you look at a modern Call of Duty now, like Cold War, there are kill streaks in Zombies, and it's insane. There was also a chainsaw intended for Zombies with an untextured model still in the code, as well as an early model for the Winter's Howl, which looks badass. As for perks, there are quite a few that got cut from the game. These include Boom Juice, Candelier, DTP Boom, Damage Aid, Pronade, and Tough Brew. And finally, there are also upgraded perk icons for Quick Revive, Juggernog, and Speed Cola hidden within the files. Lord have mercy, that was layer 4 of the Iceberg. I'm just letting you guys know now, layer 5 is like a complete cluster. It's insane.
The numbers, Mason. What do they mean? Where are they broadcast?
I don't know anything about any numbers.
Black Ops and Cold War have the same story, but reversed. So BO1 and Cold War are pretty similar games. Well, I would hope so. They're right next to each other in the Black Ops timeline. But let me explain a little bit more. In Black Ops 1, you play as Alex Mason, an American who is abducted and brainwashed by the Russians, only to later realize he was brainwashed. Meanwhile, in Cold War, you play as a character named Bell, a Russian who is abducted and brainwashed by the Americans, and also eventually realizes later on that they were brainwashed. There are, of course, many other similarities between these two stories, but essentially, the main point I'm trying to make is that Black Ops 1 and Cold War tell the same story with reversed roles. If you want to learn more, check out this video by Ink Slasher from a few years ago, as he delves deeper into this specific topic. It's an incredible video and I think you'll enjoy it. Weaver sets Mason up on a date. It's revealed in the terminal that Weaver set Mason up on a date with a woman named Sarah Leary, probably as a thank you for saving his life at the Cosmodrome. Weaver sent Mason a message basically saying he owed him and that he knew a smoking blonde on the first floor of the Pentagon named Sarah, who sounded interested in Mason. However, the date didn't go super well. Sarah sent Weaver a message on February 18th, 1966 saying, "I can't believe I let you talk me into drinks with that psycho Alex Mason. All night it was Dragovich this and Reznov that. Step 1, step 2, step 3, like he was completely cuckoo. If I didn't know any better, I'd think the guy was a communist sympathizer or a complete schizo. He needs professional help, not a date. I appreciate that you're trying to help out a friend, but don't do it at my expense." Meanwhile, Mason reached out to Weaver the same day with this. "Thanks for the setup. It went great. No doubt Sarah is at the local precinct filing a restraining order. Do me a favor. Don't do me any favors." So yeah, it sounds like everybody had a great time at this date. It is speculated that the smoking blonde is the woman seen in the Pentagon cutscene smoking a cigarette while watching Mason. God, the poor guy cannot catch a break. Operation Cherubitus, Ryan Jackson, and Jonathan Pryce. So Operation Cherubitus, which is a word I'm probably not pronouncing right, but let's just ignore it for the sake of this, revealed in a piece of intel, was a joint operation between the Special Activities Division, or SAD, and MI6. The goal? To eliminate Mason, Weaver, and Hudson. Apparently the SAD considered Mason a threat to national security, and Weaver and Hudson were thrown in because they basically backed him up. Now, remember Ryan Jackson? You know, the guy I mentioned way back in the declassified entry? He was a CIA analyst during Black Ops, eventually climbing the ladder to become the special assistant to the associate deputy director of the SAD. His original job was to provide analysis on Op 40, SOG members, and intel related to Project Nova, all of which he reported to his boss, Richard Kane. Jackson also advised the task force for Operation Cherubitus, while the SAS appointed a man named Jonathan Pryce as the lead operator. There's also another key player involved named Kristina Reskova, but we'll get to her later. Jackson couldn't really trust Mason anymore, believing Dragovich had fried his brain, so he wanted him, as well as Weaver and Hudson, taken out. So Jackson wrote a letter to Richard Kane on October 27th, 1976, detailing the plan. Of course, Mason and Hudson survive the assassination attempt, and we see them later in Cold War and the flashback missions in Black Ops 2. Weaver is also alive, but he's dealing with his own personal hell right now. The operation either never came to fruition or just failed, and to this day, we still don't know exactly why or what happened. As for Ryan Jackson, he continued monitoring Hudson, Mason, and Woods until the deaths of Hudson and Mason in Panama. Now, like I said with the declassified entry, whether the events of that game are canon or not is kind of up for debate at this moment. Some information might be retconned in Black Ops 6. Now, in regards to Jonathan Pryce, before the Modern Warfare reboot, Warzone, and the recent blending of the Black Ops and Modern Warfare universes, the original MW trilogy, you know, the good one, and the Black Ops universe were completely separate. So it's likely that Treyarch at the time just used the name Jonathan Pryce as a nod to the iconic character from Modern Warfare, or maybe it was just an Easter egg with no deeper meaning. Since the rebooted MW and Black Ops universes supposedly exist in the same timeline now, God, thanks a lot, Activision, this sucks. The new Pryce wouldn't have been born yet in order to take part in Operation Cherubitus, so maybe his daddy, or maybe we're just reading way too much into this. And if you're wondering exactly where I'm getting the name Pryce from, while the English version of Black Ops doesn't name Pryce explicitly, it only says Jonathan, the French version does say Pryce. Weaver's niece is a double agent. Kristina Reskova is a character that we never see in-game. However, we do know a lot about her. She's a CIA double agent who was born in the Soviet Union. Her mother passed away a few days after her birth. Her role in the KGB was to basically seduce agents before transferring to the GRU and working her way up the ladder, leading her to work with a former associate of Dragovich named Colonel Anton Vanya. They soon developed a pretty toxic relationship, which led to her deciding to be a double agent. She was soon involved in Operation Cherubitus, with her role being to seduce and take out Mason. But what makes this entire situation pretty weird is that Weaver is actually her uncle. So for context, Weaver was born in the USSR and had a sister named Olga who gave birth to Kristina and died. Once Weaver's father was killed, he and his mother basically booked it for the US of A, and up until like 1977, Weaver had no idea that he had any blood relatives still alive, until he learned about his niece being alive and potentially residing in Moscow, according to a message he received in the terminal, which we're going to discuss later. So he knows about his niece, but he has no clue that she's a double agent working for the enemy, which is crazy. Shangri-La's original version, Vietnam Zombies, and Frank Wood's Zombies poster. Shangri-La, you know, that really cool DLC map that may or may not be set on Mars, wasn't always planned to look like this. In fact, there were a lot of concepts and ideas for this map that were ultimately scrapped or changed. For starters, the map was titled The Temple. There are 4 unused teleporter boxes under the map. The baby gun was apparently going to have different elemental variants. There was also a gun called the Village Bell, and a really unique pack-a-punch machine. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up Vietnam Zombies in this particular entry is because there was a rumor of Treyarch potentially working on a Vietnam-based map for the DLC season of Black Ops. As a matter of fact, there's a person named Nick who worked for Raven Software during Black Ops 1, and he created some Vietnam Zombies concept art, and this might be a reach. I could totally be wrong, but I'm getting heavy Shangri-La vibes from these concept images. Maybe some of these ideas were reworked for Shang, or maybe not, I don't know. Now, in terms of the Frank Woods Zombies poster, on screen is an image taken by Mr. Dalek JD, which is a poster of Woods holding the baby gun in what appears to be Shangri-La at Raven Software. Now, this could just be a really cool poster design that doesn't mean anything, or, and you might want to put your tinfoil hat on for this, maybe this was another early concept for Shang that was scrapped. What do I mean by that? Well, let me explain. You guys know how Weaver wasn't present in the Black Ops story post BO1 and was later placed in the Dark Aether Zombies storyline in Cold War? Well, what if Treyarch was toying around with a similar concept years ago, but for Frank Woods? Like I mentioned previously in the video, there was a message sent to Mason in the terminal stating that Woods was alive and was currently staying at the Hanoi Hilton in Vietnam, which is basically a prison. Maybe during the development of Black Ops 2, Treyarch wasn't positive if they were going to bring back Woods for the campaign or keep him in limbo. And maybe they came up with a concept for Woods to be transported to the Zombies storyline in this theoretical Vietnam-based map, maybe at the Hanoi Hilton, just to keep his character alive since he's a fan favorite, but ultimately decided to bring him back to the campaign in BO2, and maybe Treyarch canceled that Vietnam map idea in favor of Shang. Again, tinfoil hat theory. This is most likely not true at all, but it's still interesting to ponder what could have been if Treyarch decided to go down that route. Either way, the Vietnam concept art is really cool, and I'm kind of pissed off that we never got to see that sweet-ass pack-a-punch machine. The Darice and DoD servers. So inside the terminal, there are 4 servers: the CIA, the Dreamland, the DoD or Department of Defense, and the Darice servers. However, 2 of them, from my knowledge, are not accessible. Those would be the Darice and the DoD servers, while the CIA and Dreamland servers are accessible. This is because the Darice and DoD servers require a login and password, which up until this point has not ever been discovered. However, 8 years ago, in an interview with the one and only Mr. Waffle Waffles, Jason Blundell reveals that at least the Darice passwords exist. But over the last few years, people have dug through the code of Black Ops to see if legitimate logins exist, and apparently there's nothing. Some people have learned to change the values of the password to bypass the login to see what was waiting behind the doors, and unfortunately, it's nothing super fantastic. At least for Darice, there are folders pertaining to the Zombies characters like Peter, Dempsey, Sophia, Richtofen, etc. Now, according to the fandom wiki for the Darice servers, it states that Blundell in a later interview backtracked his original statement, stating that there are no accessible files in the server, but explained that the intended files for the server exist within the walls of Treyarch. I don't believe to this day Treyarch, or anyone for that matter, has come forward to talk about these files, but I could be wrong. And I'm also not entirely sure what interview Jason stated this update in. I'm usually very iffy when it comes to fandom wiki pages, so if anyone can let me know, please do. GKM. So GK, or GKM, or the Gorky Korolev Medical Company, which I probably butchered the name of, was used to smuggle Nova 6 into various countries like Laos, Vietnam, and potentially to various sleeper agents within the US of A. The company based in Prague is owned by a person named Pavel Gorky, again, not great with names, but we're trying our best out here, who is Kravchenko's cousin. Now what's pretty interesting is that Gorky, following the end of the Second World War, was involved in the Darice massacre and the standoff with American forces. Now Korolev, on the other hand, is a character that is never explained in Black Ops. However, we could speculate that Korolev, who is part of GKM, is potentially the real-life Soviet rocket engineer and spacecraft designer who worked on various projects like the R-7 rocket, Sputnik 1 and had devices ready for reaching Mars and Venus. He was basically the father of the Soviet space program. This GK, however, isn't the original GK. In fact, the name was taken from the GK Corporation, which helped the German army manufacture Nova 6. After the war, the GK Corporation faced significant scrutiny for its involvement with the German military. In 1948, an investigation was launched when several employees mysteriously disappeared. The company was eventually shut down in 1949, but it seems like some of those missing employees maybe decided to help Gorky reboot GK under Soviet leadership. All of this information comes from intel in the game, the terminal, and also from a document in a briefcase labeled GK that was given to the COD Zombies administrator, Carbon Fiber, I believe during the promotional period for Black Ops. This case also contains loads of documents pertaining to MK Ultra, the weapons we see in the game, hypnotism, the CIA giving out LSD, articles in German about World War II. I mean, the list goes on. So if you're curious about the contents of the briefcase, just search up GK Documents Original or Black Ops GK Briefcase Documents on Google, and you'll come across an Imgur link with everything. Is it pronounced Imgur or Imgur? I haven't quite figured that one out yet. The Mystery of Evelyn Cross, Reznov's possible survival, and Mason's attack on JFK. Oh, Lord have mercy, we're about to dive into a massive rabbit hole, so grab your tinfoil hat, grab some snacks, tell your mom you're going to be busy for a while, because this is a lot. This is a lot of information. These 3 topics were originally separate entries, but I figured it would be way more fun to just go on a 10-minute rant about these 3 massive topics in one setting rather than breaking them apart. This explanation might not make any sense at all, or maybe it will, I don't really know, but this is basically as obscure as Black Ops gets. So I mean, do your best to follow along, but this might just suck. Let's begin at Evelyn Cross. She's one of the most mysterious and obscure characters in Black Ops. She's mentioned throughout the terminal and seen in some files, but never appears in person. On June 26, 1963, Evelyn sent a pretty threatening message to JFK, which reads, "He won't ask you again, and I know this was his final offer. Please reconsider before we leave Berlin, or your life will be in danger. Our people are everywhere. This time you cannot win. Give him what he wants before it's too late." Okay, man, damn. That date, June 26, 1963, was when JFK gave his famous, and please forgive my German, "Ich bin ein Berlin." I think that's how you say that. I'm kind of going off of how JFK said it in his speech. Anyways, that's when JFK gave that speech in West Berlin. So JFK and Evelyn were in Berlin on the same day, but who is the mysterious character she's referring to? I mean, could it be Perseus? Or maybe the Soviet leader at the time? Or maybe Reznov? But hold that thought, we'll go back to that in a second. She also mentions, "Our people are everywhere." So is she talking about sleeper agents? Maybe, but things are about to get weirder. So another unknown character named John Trent begins messaging Jason Hudson just days before JFK's assassination. On November 19th, 1963, Trent tells Hudson, "Everything you know is wrong. You don't know me, but I know Alex Mason. You will learn to trust me. Everything changes on Friday," referring to Friday, November 22nd. Then on November 21st, he sends a message to JFK saying, "You have 1 day left. Victory cannot be achieved without sacrifice." On that same day, Trent sends Hudson another message saying, "Now you understand. It was by the hand of Nikita Dragovich. This is just the beginning. They are everywhere. Start at Vorkuta. 2 escaped the breakout. You know one of them. The other one just died." The following day, November 22nd, 1963, JFK was shot and killed in Dallas, Texas. Trent then sends another message to Hudson on November 25th with a code string which goes Echelon 5/21/08/18 15/14/7/21 16/23 9/14/23 06/18/4, which when decoded reads Oswald Compromise, and attached to the message is a photo of Evelyn Cross. Now, there's a popular theory that John Trent is actually Victor Reznov, and the evidence for this is pretty compelling. Trent mentions knowing Mason, the Vorkuta escape, and even quotes one of Reznov's famous lines, "Victory cannot be achieved without sacrifice." Now, I mentioned Reznov or John Trent possibly being the person associated with Evelyn Cross earlier, and my reasoning for that is because of John Trent's message to JFK alluding to his assassination the following day. Evelyn was the one to originally make a threat to JFK, so how would Reznov know about the specific date of JFK's assassination? And if all of this is the case, what did Reznov want from JFK? God, my head hurts. Now, Trent's final message to Hudson, sent on February 27th, 1968, reads, "You have done well. Please tell Mason one last thing. This time, it's freedom for both of us. This came just one day after Alex killed Dragovich. Now, Reznov's ultimate goal was for Dragovich, Kravchenko, and Steiner to die, so I guess it makes sense that he would reach out after learning that the task was finally complete, but it just gets weirder, man. So there are many conspiracies surrounding JFK's assassination, including theories about the CIA potentially being involved and that Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't the only gunman. In the campaign's final scene, there's a moment where JFK is seen driving through Dallas on the day of his assassination, while the numbers lady speaks, and Mason references the gun used by Oswald, which was the 6.5mm Carcano rifle. The footage then pauses, zooming in on what appears to be Alex Mason in the crowd, suggesting that he might have been the second person involved in the assassination, which is nuts to butts. And here's where it gets even weirder. The woman reading the numbers, at least from my perspective, bears a striking resemblance to Evelyn Cross, at least to me. I don't know if this has ever been confirmed by Treyarch or anyone, but this person just looks like Evelyn Cross to me. Now, at one point during this cutscene, the numbers lady, who I'm going to just call Evelyn because I think it's Evelyn, is heard saying the code Ascension 7, 15, 1, 2, 19. This number on screen, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this code on screen, when decoded, it reveals location, Texas School Book Depository, 6th floor, 6.5mm Carcano rifle, Dallas Dealey Plaza, 11/22nd. And as previously mentioned, Ascension codes are commands for sleeper agents, while Echelon codes are for giving out information. Since the numbers lady, or Evelyn, is reading the Ascension code, it's possible that these were the instructions for Mason and maybe Oswald to act on. Then, when Mason confronts Dragovich about trying to make him kill the president in the final mission of the campaign, Dragovich responds with, "Try?" So this kind of implies that Mason may have actually done it. I know I just gave you guys like a ton of fucking information, like a heaping pile of spaghetti, and it's all over the place. And listen, I could totally be wrong about the details. I'm not a doctor or anything, but let me just try and summarize everything I just said in a more cohesive way. Evelyn Cross is the numbers lady featured in the 2 cutscenes and heard throughout the game. Her superior, whether that's Reznov or Perseus or someone else entirely, wants something from JFK, and if they don't get it, they'll unleash their sleeper agents to assassinate him. Reznov, somehow knowing about the exact date of JFK's planned assassination, reaches out to Hudson about it, while also informing JFK himself that his sacrifice will be for the greater good. Evelyn reads the code to activate Mason and potentially Oswald, who might have also been a sleeper agent, to kill JFK. Oswald failed, but Mason succeeded. JFK dies, Oswald was framed for the task, Mason doesn't remember completing this task because he was in La La Land the whole time, and nobody seems to really know that it was him. Anyways, Dragovich eventually dies. Reznov, if still alive at all, gets his happy ending and lives out the rest of his days in wherever the hell he is right now. Mason is satisfied, you know, until he has to deal with the mess that goes on in these 2 games later down the road. And we still don't know exactly who Evelyn Cross is associated with or anything, but again, my guess is Perseus, just because the man has been around since the events of Black Ops, you know, with Adler also being involved in Vietnam and stuff too. But I guess Reznov could have been the person as well. We really don't know. See, the best part about Black Ops' story is that Treyarch doesn't just spoon feed us all of the answers. Every single one of us could literally just speculate for days about this info, and that's what makes this game a timeless classic. Brainstorming, coming up with new ideas, trying to piece together this deeper narrative. And although I probably sounded like a fucking nut job trying to elaborate on all of this information, which I don't even think I did a decent job at, I still had a lot of fun. Let's circle back to Reznov real quick. Remember how I mentioned earlier that we're going back to Vorkuta and Black Ops 6? I'm not putting on my tinfoil hat here and claiming that we're going back specifically for Reznov or anything like that. I mean, the guy would be like around 78 by the time BO6 takes place, which isn't super old, but judging by the conditions of Vorkuta, Reznov, if he was hypothetically brought back to the camp, would probably be taken out by some horrible disease, but I also doubt he would have been brought back to Vorkuta alive in the first place. I mean, yeah, you killed a lot of our men, destroyed a lot of property, but we'll just put you right back down in the hole and let you live. No, I think Reznov would have been shot dead on sight if he were found after the escape. But the number one rule with Call of Duty games is that if a character isn't seen dead on screen, they're probably still alive. I mean, take Woods and Kravchenko, for example. So there's always a chance that he's still kicking it. Maybe he'll make an appearance in BO6, or maybe we'll just get a piece of intel or a mention that gives us some closure on his character. I think that would be nice. We'll just have to wait and see. And if nothing happens in BO6 regarding Reznov, well, I guess I'll eat my own fucking butt. Anyways, this was a complete mindfuck, but I hope I explained it well. I didn't. Well, let's be real, I did not. But if one or two of you understood everything I was trying to say and feel like I maybe, mixed up some details or forgot to mention something crucial involved in this massive rabbit hole, then just let me know in the comments. God, there is so much lore within the terminal in Black Ops that leaves me with so many more questions that I hope we one day get the answers to, like if Reznov really survived, maybe more info on Evelyn Cross and if she was working with Perseus or some other top dog, and maybe if Oswald was a sleeper agent, and if Mason really killed JFK, although I doubt we'll ever get any definitive answers on those last 2 points. I feel like for this entire entry, I need to just put up with that one scene with Charlie and Always Sunny, because that's just how I feel right now. It's just all over the place. It's insane. Lev Kravchenko in MW3. In the Modern Warfare 3 2011 intro to the mission Dust to Dust, at around the 27 or 28 second mark, there is quite literally a photo of Lev Kravchenko from Black Ops on the wall. Despite the Black Ops and original Modern Warfare trilogies not being part of the same universe, this could either just be a very fun Easter egg or a massive oversight by Sledgehammer and Infinity Ward. Now, there is a character named Lev in Modern Warfare 2 2009 who's part of Makarov's inner circle, but it's possible the devs accidentally used the wrong image, or maybe they did do it on purpose. I mean, who really knows? But either way, this is wild. X. X is the code name for an unknown character in Black Ops with access to top secret intel. This mysterious figure was the one who informed Mason that Woods was still alive and being held at the Hanoi Hilton. X also told Mason about Daniel Clark's plan to hide in Johannesburg, in South Africa, at his brother's after escaping the Ural Mountain compound where he worked under Dragovich to stabilize volatile compounds in Nova 6, and that his brothers would be a good place to start. Maybe Mason was searching for a lead in the Operation Cherry Beatus situation. I mean, who really knows? Obviously, Clark never made it to his brothers since he was captured by Hudson and Weaver, and we all know how that went down. Meanwhile, X informed Weaver about his sister's death and revealed that his niece was in Moscow, which we mentioned earlier, and they also tipped off Hudson, warning that his superiors were keeping a close eye on him. Now, as of 1978, X is still alive, but their true identity remains a mystery, so who the hell is X? Well, no one really knows. I will say, though, in the message to Mason about Woods' whereabouts, X referred to him as Mr. Mason, and the only other time I remember somebody calling Alex Mr. Mason was JFK, but it can't be JFK, right? I mean, that guy's head exploded in Dallas, unless JFK faked his death, but would Treyarch really go that far with the story? I mean, it's hard to say. Roebuck's body in 5. So, while replaying 5 the other day, I noticed that the human model found in the lab shares a similar hairline to Roebuck from World at War. So this got me thinking, is this the same character model? Or did the CIA take Roebuck's body, clone it, and experiment on it? No, probably not, but that's pretty crazy to imagine. White Ops. Man, this game sucks. The best zombies map of all time.
The best zombies map of all time. Kino der Toten, Black Ops 1.
4/20/1913.
Listen, my friend. Pass the Nova gas.
Alright, that was the final layer of the Black Ops Iceberg. This might be the longest layer I've ever done in a single Iceberg video on my channel. I don't even know if half of it made any sense, but we're just gonna roll with it. It's insane. I think I have a headache.
Mason. You did it, Mason. You did what I could not.
Well, there you have it. The Call of Duty Black Ops Iceberg. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this next entry in the Golden Age Call of Duty Iceberg series. Next up on the list is Modern Warfare 3 2011, so stay tuned for that. But if you did go on to enjoy this video, you learned something new, or you're just having a fantastic day, drop a like. Again, maybe we could shoot for 115 likes. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Click the bell icon to be notified whenever I upload a brand new video. Follow me on all of my social links and join my Discord server. Links in the bio below. Have an awesome day, everyone, but please remember what the numbers mean.